Hey guys, and welcome to my new video called The Watches of Rap Music. So I'm gonna go through again, I'm no expert on this, I just wanna say that, but I'm gonna go through I don't know, it's like 5 or 6 of the most mentioned brands I find from rap music. Some of them are really obvious to people, and some of them I think people don't always know what they are. I didn't know what they are until I did my own research on this, but I just thought it would make for an interesting and kind of fun video. So first off, we have Rolex. Of course, this is the king of watches. Everybody knows a Rolex. It was first created by this guy, was a German orphan, moved to Switzerland eventually after working in and then he got into watches and this, that, and the third. And eventually he created his own watch company, which was pretty popular. One of his main things that he did was he wanted to make it so that everyone was using pocket watches at the time and only really women used wristwatches, and he wanted to change that. And that was one of his main things, was to popularize the wristwatch. Number 2, thing that he did was about durability. For instance, this woman, she wanted to swim the English Channel or something like that, and he gave her the watch, and it was like basically waterproof or water resistant type of thing, and she didn't make it the whole way or something, but the point is the watch survived. And then also in general, just the way that it was made, preventing it from bumps and bruises, if you will. Rolexes themselves, they have several different kinds that are pretty popular. There's called the Oyster, the Datejust, the Day-Date, and the Submariner. There's other ones too, but those are the main, I feel like, ones that everybody knows are the most popular ones. I believe the Day-Date is the one that Tony Soprano wears. The Rolex has been mentioned a lot in rap music in comparison to some of the other brands I'm gonna show you for a lot longer, I should say. So if you're going all the way back, or not all the way back, but back to the time of Notorious B.I.G., for instance, in the song Ready to Die, he says, a big bad motherfucker on the wrong road. I got some drugs, trying to get the avenue sold. I want it all, from the Rolexes to the Lexus. Getting paid is all I expected. So obviously, there we go. We got a reference to the Rolex as that kind of aspirational watch that he's looking for. There's a Nas song where he says, I went from Seiko to Rolex, so obviously referencing Seiko, the Japanese watch company, and then how he was able to, with the influx of his rap money, be able to purchase a Rolex. And then Snoop Dogg, in the song Drop It Like It's Hot, he says, I got a rollie on my arm and I'm pouring Chandon, and I roll the best weed because I got it going on. And obviously this is like one that everybody knows. Also, by the way, from Switzerland, just watch out. They're like all from Switzerland. Up next we have Patek Philippe, which was created by these two guys, Patek and Philippe, and they were from other places, or Patek was from Poland. Anyway, long story short, they sort of came to Switzerland, they created this company. Patek Philippe has been around for, I think it's like 185 years, extremely old company, and it's very well known and referenced. I actually first learned about it from an episode of Entourage, believe it or not. Again, a very old kind of legacy watch, if you will. One of their slogans or whatever is, you never really own a Patek Philippe, you simply watch it for the next generation, so you pass it down. Patek Philippe's, again, as far as the expense department, are crazy expensive. They're starting at, again, into the tens of thousands and into the hundreds of thousands. Of the 10 most expensive watches sold at auction, 9 are Patek Philippe's. They hold the record, I believe, for the most expensive wristwatch ever sold, which was $31 million for the Grandmaster Chime watch, it's called. And then they also hold the record for the most expensive pocket watch sold, which was $24 million US. They had many different styles, but in the 70s, there was a guy called Jared Genta, who we're gonna talk about again later, as a watch designer, and he made the Patek Philippe Nautilus. And this was a big hit for them and helped to kind of maybe bring the brand into more modern, compete with different more modern brands. So that's sort of like a brief history and look at Patek Philippe, referenced by Amigos, by Young Thug. So for instance, in the Young Thug song called Webby, he says, I was trapping out the vacant Patek Philippe, they got my wrist and they don't play with that. So Future makes reference in the song Too Much Sauce. He says, Patek Philippe, the plain one, I got too much sauce. And in that song, he references many watches, but just saying, and referring to the plain one being where the watch doesn't have any. We'll get there. We'll talk about plain Janes later. That's coming down the list. Up next is the Frank Mueller. So now the Frank Mueller is interesting in that the first 2 watch brands I've mentioned are pretty old, and Frank Mueller, the person himself and the designer, was born in 1958. So relatively young on the watch game. And when he started out, he went to one of these watch building schools in Switzerland, of course, and he learned how to do all this watchmaking stuff. He repaired and fixed Patek Philippe's, so obviously he was well known, you know, he really knew what he was doing. And then he created his own company in the 1980s. Now, Frank Muellers are known for being extremely complex. The inner working, all the gizmos and stuff of the watch are very meticulously made and very, you know. Anyway, so that's sort of the Frank Mueller. Again, the average Frank Mueller, I don't know, $38,000 I think, or something like that is like your baseline to paying for a Frank Mueller, but probably more. Jay-Z has done this collaborations with them. A million celebrities and sportsmen, David Beckham, Paris Hilton, Elton John, blah, 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 they all wore them. The first time I ever heard it referenced in rap music was in the Little Uzi Vert song, Do What I Want, in which he says, "Oh, he cold? Well, I swear that I'm cooler. This ain't a Rolly bitch. This is a Frank Mueller." Yeah, I said Mueller. So here, Lil Uzi is letting us know that this is in fact not a Rolex. This is more expensive or more, more esoteric than a Rolex. This is in fact a Frank Mueller. And there's a difference, bitch. No. Up next we have the Hublot. So the Hublot is created by, again, another one of these Swiss watch maisons, but it was created by an Italian guy, or Swiss-Italian. Maybe I have to actually look that. I don't actually know the answer to that question. The name Hublot is taken from the French word for porthole, so ship. And it was the first watch to have a natural rubber strap on it. And when the guy first made it and he brought it to one of these watch shows in Switzerland, like nobody bought it or was interested in it, but it didn't matter because it sort of took off anyway. And then the original designer, he kind of bowed out after a while and he sort of was devoting his life to doing kind of charitable things. And another guy came in and in 2005, he created the Hublot Big Bang, which is one of the bigger ones they have, bigger designs. That's very popular. The company itself is owned by LVMH. The watches themselves, again, they're going from the 10,000s into the 100,000s. I chose a good Kanye West line in which he says, from his I Don't Like remixing the Chief Keef song, he says, Soho, Tribeca, three hoes, trifecta, dope money, coke money, Hublot, my watch better, my pen better, you don't write, trendsetter, you clone like. So anyway, that's a good, I like that Hublot line, if you will. And I think that's pretty much what the Hublot is. All right, up next we have the Richard Mille. So the Richard Mille is perhaps the most ostentatious and kind of just crazy, ridiculous watch that exists. Very colorful, you can always see into the intricacies of the watch. And it was created by a guy called Richard Mille. And again, in comparison to the other watch maisons, this watch wasn't even started until 2001. One of the first things they did was they made a watch specifically for Felipe Massa, the Formula One driver. And in 2004, he was in a crash, and on top of Felipe being okay, it was sort of the Richard Mille watch. It was okay too, it survived, it was durable. They also did a thing with Rafael Nadal too, other people as well, but that's, those are some of the main ones. Very complex, Swiss watch brand, blah, blah, blah. And they also, again, in the Formula One space, they signed a deal in 2017 to sponsor the McLaren F1 team for 10 years, so there's sort of Richard Mille stamped all over. And you do see it around in that world in general. I think there's other places that have. So yeah, so that's the Richard Mille. Also, the Richard Mille was referenced in a recent episode, or an episode of the new Sebastian Maniscalco show, Bookie. Someone pays him because for gambling debts, they don't have the money, so they give him a Richard Mille, which he goes and discovers his cost like into the $130,000, $150,000 watch, which is crazy, and all the Richard Milles cost about that. Again, referenced by Migos. Chief Factory said it were Richard Mille pounds. But I like a Jay-Z one, which actually comes before the time when I think you heard Richard Milles get mentioned a lot in the Jay-Z and Kanye West song, Gotta Have It, from their album Watch the Throne, in which Jay-Z says, I'm gonna need a day off, I think I'll call Ferris up. Bueller, Had a Mueller, but I switched it for a Miele because I'm richer, and prior to this shit was moving freebase. So obviously there he's referencing Frank Mueller, but he's also saying that now that he's richer, or Richard Miele, he has bought himself a Richard Mille watch. And I think that is a very good, clever line referencing Richard Mille, although there's a ton of them. Next is Audemars Piguet, or AP, which I think people just say AP because they don't want to say Audemars Piguet. But anyway, also a very old watch maison, known for all kinds of different styles. The costs, again, forget it. In fact, if you go on the Audemars Piguet website, they don't even tell you the price. There's just a little thing that says, inquire or make an appointment, where you pick a boutique that's near you and you go in there, and then that's when they tell you how much you got to fork over for an Audemars Piguet watch. Now our old friend Gerald Genta comes back here again, and he designed before of the Nautilus for Patek Philippe. Now he designed the watch called the Royal Oak for AP, and this is one of their most popular offerings. And he took the design, looked like one of those old school diving helmets, and that's where he got it from. Extremely popular, again, one of those ones where the brand was around for a while, but then this new one kind of helped to, spike sales, bring it into the more modern era. I don't know, that type of thing. Cost-wise, again, like I said, you don't even know the cost. They don't even tell you on the website. Jay-Z did a collaboration with them. Currently, Travis Scott is doing a Cactus Jack AP collab, and he's got his own watch that he designed, and I've seen some different stuff, marketing material on Instagram, this little video that they made for it. Most recently, maybe not most recently, but a more recent one is from Central C and Dave Sprinter, and he says something, baby, it could have dated you, AP Baby Blue. And then also in the song Rich Sex, he informs this young woman that he can keep his AP on while they do it, while they're having a rich sex. After that, in New Freezer, Rich the Kid mentions his AP. Literally, the list goes on and on. There's a million. I would say that along with Patek Philippe, I kind of feel like AP is like the most referenced watch in rap music. And I used to always wonder too, AP, when they would say AP, I didn't know what it was. And then it took me a while to realize it was a watch. So sometimes I was like, AP, the Associated Press? Anyway. Okay, yeah, so those are the major brands that I hear all the time. So that's why I kind of chose those ones. There's other ones. I've heard Cartier, I've heard other, different kind of ones. But I feel like those are the most famous ones that you are all constantly hearing referenced in rap music. And I've had many conversations with my friends over the years and people about, what are they talking about? What is that, And so I just wanted to do a deep dive and kind of give a little history and a little idea and pick some of my favorite places where it's referenced. To wrap things up a little, kind of watch culture, there's a sort of a bust down versus a plain Jane. So a bust down is when you get the watch and then you sort of get it customized. You add diamonds and jewels and whatever, different kind of customizations, whatever you want. And while this costs a lot of money to do it, it actually makes the value of the watch drop because you've now modified the original design. And I learned this from Quavo's GQ Things I Can't Live Without video, where he talks about how he used to buy a lot of bust downs, but then he learned that it drove the cost of them down. So now he only buys plain Janes, again, just the watches without any customizations on them. And he says it's like buying a house because the value of this watch will go up over the years as opposed to the bust downs, which kind of drops the valuation of it. And then also Plain Jane is referenced in the A$AP Ferg song, Plain Jane, where he talks about that's the idea of having the watch that he did not have customized and encrusted with jewels or precious stones. Why are these watches so expensive? I mean, I think it's a status symbol. If you could spend $100,000 on a watch, then obviously you've made it in life. Number two, the watches themselves are made from certain kind of, expensive, precious metals, that type of thing. All the watches are handmade, very, very intricate sort of mechanics and engineering involved in creating them. So that has a lot to do with why they're so expensive. Also, the watch maisons themselves, they sort of cap how much is made each year. I think it's like AP only makes 40,000 pieces a year, whatever. And then also I think it has to do with the auction sales. When they sell those older ones for auction, it only drives up the price of the current ones, you know what I mean? And again, I guess the idea being that these watches should last you, you know, your lifetime and then could be passed down. I don't know, I couldn't see myself spending this much on these watches. I think if I had a lot of money, I'd buy other things, but anyways, very interesting world to dive into, and I must say that a lot of this stuff I literally just learned from rap music. No one in my family or anything has a Rolex or any of these type of watches, and I never really encountered these brands anywhere else but initially from rap music. So anyway, that's my video, and I thought this would be a fun deep dive. So thanks for watching, guys.